Welcome to the very first episode of Cherry Pickin' Pod. Cherry Pickin' Hockey will be the Owner's Box hockey brand. We'll pretty much just be doing fantasy hockey segments, talk about some news, anything crazy happening around the league. I'm joined by Brody. He works at Owner's Box, and we'll be joined by Jake, who's having technical issues this week and will not be joining us. Brody, how's it going today?
Doing good. I'm doing good. Excited for the episode with Jake next week, but you know, what can you do?
It's a shame. It's a shame. Yeah. He seemed fired up. He even had his own merch ready to go. Kind of a shocker. A little sneak peek
for some excitement next week for the fans.
Yeah. So come back next week. But this week we'll be doing our studs and plugs. So we're going to be talking about one guy who we think that you should pick up and potentially give you some season long advice, but also like these guys need to be picked up in your Owner's Box leagues, no matter what format. We'll tell you when you should pick them up as well. And then we're going to talk about a plug, someone that, he's just not playing well and that he should be avoided. It doesn't mean that he's not a good hockey player. It just means he's on a cold streak right now and definitely should be avoided. So Brody, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with my stud of the week. That's Johnny Gaudreau for the Calgary Flames. Over on Owner's Box, he's getting drafted right around 39th average in the league. So for those that aren't familiar with Owner's Box too, it's 10-man drafts, 2 goalies, 8, 5 forwards, 3D. So you're taking 10 players. So when he's going 39th on average, that means in a 4-man league, he's right at the end of that typically. And I think if you're in a 4-man league or 8-man league or 16-man league over on our platform, you should 100% be looking at putting Gaudreau in your lineup this week. He's doing all right this year. He's just under point per game, which is pretty steady for him. But the big reason I want him this week is Flames have 4 games, which is obviously a positive. Yeah. And 3 of them are against Ottawa Senators. So I know you're a Sens fan. I know you don't like me chirping them as a Leafs fan, but and even though I'll give you some credit, the last week or so, they've looked a little better. Yeah,
they've had to look a little better.
Yeah. But they're still the Senators, right? They're still fighting with Detroit. It's probably the worst team in the league. So when you have 3 games against them, and especially with, Calgary had 1 bad game against them last week and then 1 good one, right? Where they put up, I think 6 goals there. So Gaudreau is going to have 3 chances to play them. I think he's in a really good spot there just for that reason. And I think, the Flames kind of need to prove themselves too as a team in this North Division. If they want to make the playoffs, there's still some time left, but when you got 3 games coming up against Ottawa, it's starting to kind of be now or never. Let's get those points on the board and let's keep it rolling after that. So I think my my stud of the week is Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah, I think you hit on the point. I mean, you don't have to be blunt with it. The Sens suck. Their defense sucks and their goalies suck. But yeah, I think you're completely right. Like this is a team who's like kind of fighting, clawing, and these are games that they should win and they kind of need to win. Like they're just games that, you look back in the year, you're like, how did we lose 2 out of 3? Like they got to win. They got to win 2 of these 3 and potentially sweep them. I think like the Sens just aren't a good team. So I think if they're going to do that, and the Flames have shown like they can score. I mean, they got some great like Tkachuk with Gaudreau, but Gaudreau, you're right though. He's been hot, and I think I'm kind of surprised if it's ADP. I thought he'd be going a little earlier, but you're right. Not many people are thinking the same as we are right now.
No, yeah. So keep in mind that's where he's been going. Keep in mind in a 4-man league, maybe you reach a little bit to make sure you get him. Yeah. Same with those 8-man and 16, but I have no issue kind of taking him in the mid to low 30s there.
I completely agree. Yeah. I took a guy who's a little deeper, Matt Zuccarello on the Minnesota Wild. This is a guy who's coming off his injury. He's been absolutely on a tear. He has a 14.6 fantasy point season average right now. He's only projected 7 points a game on Owner's Box, which I like that because when you're drafting, he's not going to be one of the top guys you see, which is good for you, an advantage. He has 4 games next week. We talked about Gaudreau having 4 games next week. I don't like that. I believe he plays the Kings, Vegas, which is the Golden Knights, but that's a little bit of a tough matchup that I don't like, but he plays Arizona in the back too, which I do like. He's been averaging 18.2 points in the last 5 games. He's not going to keep up this pace. Like it's an insane pace, but he's hot right now. So I would draft him, especially with 4 games. If you have to swap him in the week 2 of an 8-man, then you do it, but definitely a must draft. Season long, I'm looking to trade him if I own him. 41% rostered in deep leagues. I'm looking to add him and kind of have like a streaker where like you just ride him while he's hot. But season long, I'm probably looking to see if I can get someone like valuable. It's a good trade-off. There's no way he keeps it up.
Yeah, no, I don't think he keeps it up. To your point, short term, while they're looking good, he's looking hot. So how far would you reach for him then in an owner's box draft?
I think I would look for like in an 8-man, I'm looking for, I think 6th, 7th round is where like is kind of the bread and butter. Because he's a guy who's not very like, oh, I want Zuccarello. Like he's not a guy.
Yeah, he'll be off the board, right?
Yeah. So I think that, 7th, 6th round, like get your guys, maybe get a goalie and then pick this guy up as one of your later forwards. But then again, right, he's got 4 games. Even if you sit him against the Golden Knights, which could be a good play, see how he is. And then if he still continues this hot streak, then fucking play him against Arizona 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 games a lot, right? Because like forwards, I'm always tending to go over game ops. And then I'm just like, holy crap. Like I have to sit someone really good, especially even in an 8-man. So the 4 games is massive. So play that to your advantage. Pick up a guy like a stud who plays 3 games, maybe in the early round.
Yeah. I like that strategy. Mm-hmm. I'm with you on that. I'll try and snag him in our league on our draft tomorrow.
Love that. Who's your plug?
So my plug, Patrick Laine. So on our platform, he's going 36 in the average draft. So again, kind of same range as Gaudreau, slightly before him. I think the experiment in Columbus is kind of, he's in a better spot than he was 2 weeks ago. Certainly, like not getting benched for a period and a half anymore. I don't know if we'll ever get the full story there. I heard a few different things, few different rumblings, but so he's back on his spot. But the problem is like, Columbus just isn't playing good. And, he's only got 3 games this week. So they have a game against Detroit, which is obviously, a positive to have that.
Yep.
But like with 3 games, they're not playing that good. They're not scoring much as a team recently. I think they have, is it 3 goals in their last 2?
Holy crap.
They're not playing good, and I don't trust anyone on Columbus right now. Yeah. So I would look to avoid him on owner's box. I would look if you're in in season long, everyone has every league. Someone's going to have Laine, but I would think if you're the owner of him, try and unload him if you can. I know the value is lower and you're kind of holding out hope that, he reclaims what he was 2 or 3 years ago, and he still can be that player, but I just don't see it under Tortorella's system. Like, I don't see him having that success. He had a little burst as soon as that trade happened. Happy to be out of Winnipeg. It's kind of steady now. His role has kind of been cemented, and Columbus just isn't rolling. So I would look to avoid him this week, and in season long, look at what offers you can get and consider them.
Yeah, Torch kind of runs that system where it's like next man up, and it's just like the odd guy gets hot. Like Texier was hot, and then it was Roslovic was like, everyone's like, holy crap, this guy's an absolute stud. And then he's kind of cooled off a little bit. And then they're on
the line together. Right? So if they're not producing, avoid them right now.
Yeah, I loved drafting Laine when he first got there. It was like, holy crap. Like obviously he's got great talent, but it's like towards the system, you're like, how does he fit in and all that? But I agree. I think,
last point on him for me to compare my 2 pit, like Gaudreau or Laine, they're getting drafted at the same spot. Which one do you want? I take Gaudreau.
Yeah, I take Gaudreau. For my plug, you went more of a mainstream guy, which I love. I went more of a deeper guy, talk a little bit more about season long, but that's Brendan Gallagher of Montreal. Obviously Montreal has been a little odd lately with their coach being canned, which kind of was a shocker in the hockey world. But no, Gallagher's like, obviously he's the guy who can get you hits. He does shoot the puck, but he hovers around 50 minutes of ice time. He's got 4.4 fantasy points in his last 5 games. He only has, mostly because of his games next week. I mean, 3 games next week. One's against the Sens, which obviously everyone loves playing the Sens for fantasy purposes, but 2 against the Jets. And Hellebuck's obviously a big body back there who can stop the puck. But yeah, 7.8 season average. He hasn't really surprised me. To be honest, the 86% rostered in season long kind of actually shocked me. I thought it was going to be lower. I generally thought it was going to, when I looked it up, I thought it was probably going to be in low 70s, maybe high 60s. I was surprised to see 86%.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it just depends on what leagues you play, right? Because as soon as you put in hits, his value, he's one of the guys that still, goes out there looking for him. So he definitely brings some there. I disagree with you a bit on it. I guess for season long, it really depends what you're looking at. And I think he's high risk, high reward right now because, they've just had a coaching change and it's a little too early to kind of understand his role in it, right? I know under Julian, they loved kind of rolling 3 lines.
Yeah.
I believe he's on the second power play there under Julian, and we'll see if, if you give a week or two, we'll see if that changes. I know they want to be more offensive, more high tempo. And, I know he's got good underlying analytic numbers, so not that always translates, but, I can see the reason behind it. I don't know if I love it, but I get the idea that it could be, you could be selling at the high point right now with the new coach, but you also could be, missing some upside if it does work out with this new arrangement in Montreal. Yeah,
because Montreal was playing that they play that even kind of lines. They just run them. I wonder if that changes or anything. If they just scratch it, we're going completely different now. And then Gallagher, obviously he is a pretty big presence in front of the net for power play when he's on. So maybe he gets that call, but for now, I think he's a must avoid in owner's box.
Yeah, and that's fair enough.
Mm-hmm. So that's Studs and Plugs, this week's segment. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, like it, comment below who you like on Owner's Box, or comment below any questions, and Brody and I will gladly accept them. See you next week.